Welcome to Letters from New Zealand. I am John Jarvis. This one is on modern cognate disciplines. When Japan entered into its great modernisation, some argued that why not modernise the major martial arts and ways as well. Traditionalists ridiculed the idea as putting an ass in a tiger's skin. Nevertheless, modern Budo began to evolve. Judo is a good example. It is an international sport with standardized international rules. One example of the change from jiu-jitsu to judo follows. I watched a demonstration by a renowned jiu-jitsu master hip throw one of his students, but he maintained his grip and hold on the collar until the last moment before release. If he had held on longer, the student would have slammed his head into the tatami. In judo, centrifugal force still aids the throw, but the student is released early, allowing him to break fall safely. It should be noted that in one last attempt to show their superiority, jiu-jitsu practitioners demanded and got a showdown with judoka. In all but a few bouts, jiu-jitsu was defeated. Jiu-jitsu exists overseas. England has a long tradition of supporting it, although now that is fading. And Brazil, who allowed Japanese immigration, has original schools plus additions to their own traditional unarmed combat. Kendo, practiced worldwide by over 8 million people, surprisingly has only 4 main strikes. 2 to the side of the helmet and 2 to the wrists. There is a 5th, ski, to the throat, but is restricted to 3rd dans and above after a safety tip at the end of the shinai broke loose, allowing the splintering bamboo to penetrate the throat. Tokyo Riot Police, the Kidotai, train at Yotsua, all 5,000 of them. They must be 3rd dans or higher in judo or kendo to be accepted. I remember visiting a very small dojo that rather surprisingly hosted both Goju Kai Karate and Kendo. Armour was hung high on one of the walls, and among them were old, dusty, almost fossilized sets. When I commented on them, I was informed that they had belonged to young men that had gone off to war and never returned. No one would touch them. Women are prominent in naginata, a short blade at the end of a staff. Once the only real weapon feudal women were allowed to possess. This difficult weapon now has a national competition, and their penetrating kiai causes the ears to ring. Iaido, the art of drawing the sword from the formal Caesar position, is one example of modern transition. This was not the manner in which the classical warrior employed his sword, nor did he engage in shibari, the shaking of blood off the blade. He used a cloth or paper. There are more than 70 different systems of Japanese karate-do. We can only look at a few. When an influential master changed the ideogram China by substituting another ideogram, also pronounced kara, meaning empty or void, the empty hand way was born in Japan. Karate-do today has more than 2 million exponents, concerned largely in sport. Sport karate must supply safety for its contestants by using rules, restrictions and body protection. Many of today's masters still insist that karate begins and ends in courtesy, not winning matches. Ushiba's Aikido promotes removing all thoughts of aggression from the mind and concentrating on avoiding attack, then blending in with it to use the attacker's force against him. There are two main Aikido systems. Ushiba's has no sporting applications. A disciple, Inoue, blends self-defense and sport. This podcast ends with a brief comment on other modern Budo. Shorinji Kempo, the Japanese version of Shaolin. Kyudo archery includes a tournament in Kyoto that pits classical disciplines against modern equivalents. Today's reactions by conservatives is to hide their disciplines from society by choice. They believe that it is better to renounce tradition by choice and start to create a new one. Perhaps Okagura Kakuto should have the last say. The weak-spirited amongst us follow the trend of world opinion and desert the ranks of conservative upholders of tradition. Thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe thingy at the bottom and keep in good health.